بسم الله إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن نبينا محمدا عبده ورسوله اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم وبارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد. تسمعونني جيدا يا شيخ؟
نعم شيخنا، الصوت واضح.
طيب. وبعد هذا عود على بدء، وأسأل الله الكريم رب العرش العظيم أن يجعل العود أحمد وأسد وأرشد. وأرحب بالإخوة في كندا، وأسأل الله الكريم رب العرش العظيم أن يرزقني وإياكم العلم النافع والعمل الصالح والإخلاص فيهما والصواب، وأن يفتح علينا في هذا العلم علم الحديث الذي هو مفتاح لكل العلوم، سواء كانت في العقيدة أو في الفقه أو في التفسير أو في أصول الفقه أو في غيرها. فعلم المصطلح كما مر بنا هو علم بقواعد وقوانين يعرف بها أحوال السند والمتن من حيث القبول والرد، وهذا مما تميز به الأوائل من العلماء أنهم كانوا يعتنون بمسألة التمييز بين الثابت من غير الثابت، لئلا يقع الإنسان في التقول على رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم ما لم يقل. وقد قال النبي صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم كما روى مسلم في صحيحه: من قال علي ما لم أقل فليتبوأ مقعده من النار.
أحسن الله إليكم. بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وبعد. The Sheikh Hafidullah, he began by sending praise and salutations upon Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and then he said that this is a return to our series of lectures in the series of the summary of the science of Hadith in Q&A format, and he asked Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala that he makes this return to the series more beneficial and more blessed than the previous part where we had taken a break for the summer holidays. And the Sheikh, he welcomes all of the students in the Faculty of Hadith of Toronto back to the series of lectures, and he asks that Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala opens upon them and blesses them in their knowledge and in their actions. And then the Shaykh Hafidullah, he mentioned that this science that we are studying, the science of Hadith or the science of Hadith terminologies, then as has preceded, it is the door to all of the sciences of Islamic knowledge, all of the sciences from the science of Aqidah, Creed, and the science of Fiqh, jurisprudence, and other than it, then they all are dependent and they rely upon and return back to this great science. And this science, it is the only science by way of which one studies the principles by which he is able to determine the status of the sanad, the chain of narration, and the matan, the text of the hadith. And this is something that the scholars of hadith, they have been specifically known by. They are those who differentiated, they are those who differentiate between that which is authentically established upon the authority of the Prophet ﷺ from that which is unauthentic. And this is in line with the saying of the Prophet ﷺ in which he warned about attributing to him that which he did not say in authentic hadith, in which he said that the one who says upon me and attributes to me that which I did not say, then let him take his seat in the hellfire. نعم شيخنا.
وقفت بكم عند السؤال 91. وقفت بكم عند السؤال 91. ما الفرق بين قولهم هذا حديث صحيح الإسناد أو حسن الإسناد، وبين قولهم هذا حديث صحيح أو حسن مع ذكر السبب. الجواب: قولهم هذا حديث صحيح الإسناد دون قولهم هذا حديث صحيح، ومن الأسباب لأنه قد يقال هذا حديث صحيح الإسناد ولا يصح لكونه شاذا أو معللا. هذا الذي تضمن هذا السؤال من المهمات في مصطلح الحديث، وهو أن المحدثين يفرقون بين قولهم صحيح الإسناد أو حسن الإسناد وبين قولهم هذا حديث صحيح أو حسن. فقولهم صحيح الإسناد الإضافة تفيد التعريف، يعني أنهم يحكمون على الإسناد فحسب بأنه صحيح أو حسن، وهذا دون قولهم وهو أعم هذا حديث صحيح، لأنه يشمل صحة الإسناد وصحة المتن. أما قولهم صحيح الإسناد فمعناه رجاله ثقات، وهو متصل بثبوت سماع كل راو ممن فوقه. لكن قولهم هذا حديث صحيح معناه أنهم تجاوزوا الحكم على الإسناد إلى الحكم على المتن، لأن المتن قد لا يصح مع صحة الإسناد، يصح الإسناد ولا يصح المتن، وذلك لوجود علة، لعل المتن يكون شاذا خالف فيه الثقة مجموعة من الثقات فساقه بلفظ فيه مخالفة ونكارة، وقد يكون معللا بعلة قادحة تقدح في صحته، فلذلك نزل الحكم عند المحدثين بقولهم صحيح الإسناد عن قولهم هذا حديث صحيح. نعم.
أحسن الله إليكم. The Sheikh Hafidullah, he said that we had stopped at question number 90, and now we'll continue with question number 91. And this question, it says that what is the difference between the ruling of the scholars of Hadith when they rule with the statement that this is an authentic chain of narration or a Hasan chain of narration, that this is a Sahih chain of narration or a Hasan chain of narration, and between their statement that this is a Sahih Hadith or this is a Hasan Hadith, and mention the reason as to this differentiation. The Shaykh Hafidullah, he answered this question by saying that this is from the detailed matters of the science and shows the great intricate details that the scholars of Hadith they went to in the science. So their statement and the ruling by saying that this is a Sahih Isnad, a Sahih chain of narration, or a Hasan chain of narration, for example, this is lesser in rank than their ruling that this is a Sahih Hadith or this is a Hasan Hadith. And the reason for that is that it might be that a chain of narration could be Sahih, but it is not the matan, the text, it is not Sahih because it is Shaz or it has a illah, it has a hidden defect. So the statement, Sahihul Isnad, the statement that this chain of narration is Sahih, then it is a ruling just upon the chain of Isnad, that the narrators in the chain of Isnad, they are thiqat, that they are trustworthy in the religion and they are reliable, they have a reliable, precise memory, and that the chain of narration is connected. So it is a ruling with only these three conditions from the 5 conditions of a Sahih Hadith. But as far as the ruling of saying that this is a Sahih Hadith, then it includes the remaining 2 conditions, which is that the Hadith is free from shudud, from opposition to a narration of a narrator who is a higher level degree of precision and a group of narrators, and that it is free from hidden defects. So Sahih their statement, this is an authentic Sahih Hadith, it includes ruling upon the chain of narration and the matan and the text, because sometimes the chain of narration, it could be in its apparent form Sahih. It could be in its apparent form Sahih. The narrators are all thiqat and the chain is connected. But the matan, the text, it could be not Sahih. It could be not authentic because there's a hidden defect in it that a group of narrators have opposed the narrator of this chain of narration and have ruled it with a different wording in which there's opposition. So this is the difference between their two statements. نعم شيخنا.
السؤال الثاني والتسعون: هل قول المصنف المعتمد من أهل الحديث إذا قال صحيح الإسناد مما يعتمد عليه فيه، يعني مما يعول عليه في هذا الحكم؟ الجواب: نعم، يعتمد عليه في حكمه إذا لم يذكر له علة ولم يقدح فيه. السؤال هذا معناه قول المصنف المعتمد، يعني يكون من علماء الحديث ممن يميز بين الثابت من غيره، وهو حالة كونه لم يوصف بالتساهل وليس يجهل هذا العلم من حيث جرحه وتعديله ومعرفة القواعد والقوانين ومعرفة أصول النقد والجرح والتعديل. فهذا المعتمد هو المعول عليه، وحالة كونه أيضا من طبقة المحدثين المعتدلين، وليسوا من المتشددين ولا من المتساهلين في الحكم على الأسانيد والمتون. إذا قال هذا المعتمد من أهل الحديث صحيح الإسناد، هل هذا الحكم يعتمد عليه فيه؟ الجواب: نعم، يعتمد عليه في حكمه ما دام على هذه الصفة المذكورة، إذا لم يذكر للحديث علة ولم يقدح فيه، لأن بعض العلماء قد يصحح الإسناد وقد يصحح الحديث لكنه يتخوف من وجود علة أو علة قادحة تقدح في صحته، مع أن الظاهر السلامة منها. فإذا لم يذكر له علة فإنه يعول عليه ما دام من المحدثين المعتمدين. نعم.
أحسن الله إليكم. Then the Sheikh Hafidullah moved on to the next question, question number 92, that if a scholar from the scholars of Hadith or an author from the authors who is relied upon, if he was to say and rule with this ruling Sahih al-Isnad, that the chain of narration is Sahih, is this to be relied upon from him? The answer to this question is that yes, this is to be relied upon and accepted from him if he does not mention any hidden defect for this chain of narration, or he does not weaken this chain of narration. And this question, it is referring to those scholars of Hadith who are from the Imams of the science, those who differentiate between the authentic from the weak, and those that are known as being in the middle in the rulings upon the chains of narrations and the text of the Hadith and the narrators of Hadith. They are not those who are known with being harsh and stern in ruling upon narrators, weakening them by way of a few mistakes, nor are they known by being lax and lenient, accepting the narrations of narrators who commit a lot of mistakes or that are even unknown. Rather, they're in the middle. They know the principles of the science of al-Jarh wa Ta'dil, of praising and disparaging the narrators of Hadith, and of critiquing narrations and narrators. So if one of these Imams, who is known with being in the middle in these matters, if he was to rule upon a chain by saying it is Sahih, the chain of narration is Sahih, then this is to be accepted from him as if he ruled upon the Hadith to be Sahih, as if he ruled upon the Hadith to be Sahih. but with the condition that he does not mention for it a hidden defect, or he does not weaken it, because some scholars of this rank, they might rule upon a isnad, a chain of narration, to be sahih, but then they might allude to there being maybe a hidden defect found in it, or maybe there might be a weakness found in it. So if he does not do so, then his ruling with being the chain of narration being sahih is to be accepted and relied upon as if he ruled upon the hadith to be sahih. نعم شيخنا.
السؤال الثالث والتسعون: هل يسلم لابن الصلاح رحمه الله بأن عدم العلة والقادح هو الأصل مع ذكر السبب؟ الجواب: لم يسلم العلماء لابن الصلاح بذلك، يعني أن عدم العلة والقادح هو الأصل، والسبب كما ذكر الحافظ ابن حجر بأنه لو كان كذلك لما اشترط في الصحيح انتفاء العلة. والسؤال هذا: هل يسلم لابن الصلاح في دعواه بأن عدم العلة والقادح هو الأصل في الحديث مع بيان العلة مع بيان السبب؟ الجواب: لا يسلم لابن الصلاح، ولم يسلم العلماء له بذلك. وتعليل ذلك وسببه ذكره الحافظ ابن حجر رحمه الله تعالى بأنه لو كان الأصل عدم العلة لما اشترط في الصحيح انتفاء العلة، لأن المحدثين يعرفون الصحيح بأنه ما اتصل سنده بنقل العدل الضابط عن مثله إلى منتهاه من غير شذوذ ولا علة قادحة، من غير شذوذ ولا علة قادحة. فكيف يقال بأن عدم العلة هو الأصل؟ لقد توجد علة قادحة تحول بين الحكم على الحديث مع أن ظاهر الحديث سندا ومتنا يعني صحة، ظاهره الصحة من اتصال السند، من عدالة الرواة، من نفي الشذوذ، لكن فيه علة قادحة تحول بيننا وبين أن نحكم على الحديث بأنه صحيح. إذن يمكن أن تطرأ العلة القادحة، ولا نقول بأن عدم العلة هو الأصل، بل قد يكون ظاهره الصحة وحقيقته وباطنه أنه توجد فيه وبه علة قادحة. نعم.
أحسن الله إليكم. Then the Sheikh Hafidullah, he moved on to the next question, question number 93, and the question says that, is it to be accepted from Imam Ibn Salah rahimahullah when he mentioned in this book Ulum al-Hadith wa Muqaddam Ibn Salah that the foundation is that the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it is free from hidden defects and it is free from weakness, that this is the foundation. So is it to be accepted from him, the statement, and mention the reason for it? The answer to this question is that the scholars of hadith, they did not accept this statement of Imam Ibn Salah that the foundation is that there's no hidden defect or weakness found in the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the reason for that is that which Imam Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani rahimahullah has mentioned, that if the foundation and the origin was that there's no hidden defect, then the scholars of hadith would not have placed the condition of removing the hidden defect from a hadith that is to be accepted and that is ruled with being authentic. As we learned in the previous classes, that the scholars of hadith, they have defined sahih, authentic hadith, with 5 conditions. It is that which fulfills 5 conditions: that the chain of narration is connected, the narrators are trustworthy, they are reliable with the utmost precision in memory, and it is free from shudud, opposition, and it is free from illah, a hidden defect. So when they place this condition upon every hadith that is deemed to be authentic, to be accepted, it shows that they did not base this on the foundation that hadith in its origin, it is free from hidden defects. Rather, one cannot rule upon a hadith to be accepted or sahih, except that he searches and verifies that there's no hidden defect. And in cases, the apparent state of the chain of narration, it could be sahih, that the narrators are thiqat, and the chain of narration is connected. But in its hidden form, in the reality, there could be a hidden defect. There could be a hidden defect, and this is found in several of the hadith. This is why the scholars of hadith, they have not accepted the statement of Imam Ibn Salah. نعم شيخنا.
ننتقل الآن إلى تركيب اشتهر عن الإمام الترمذي رحمه الله تعالى وأكثر من استعماله في جامعه في سننه. سؤال 94: ما الإشكال في قول الإمام الترمذي حسن صحيح؟ استشكل العلماء قول الترمذي حسن صحيح. لماذا استشكلوه؟ الجواب: الإشكال لأن الحسن قاصر عن الصحيح، ففي الجمع بينهما في حديث واحد جمع بين نفي القصور وإثباته، لأن الحسن في راويه شيء من القصور فيما يتعلق بضبطه، والصحيح في راويه كمال الضبط، فكيف يجتمع النقص مع الكمال؟ وهذا الاصطلاح حسن صحيح سبق الترمذي شيخه البخاري رحمه الله تعالى إلى هذا التركيب حسن صحيح، وقد قال في الحديث الصحيح: فيما يختصم الملأ الأعلى. قال البخاري رحمه الله تعالى: هذا حديث حسن صحيح. لكن العلماء وجهوا معنى هذا التركيب في الاصطلاح حسن صحيح، وجهوه بتوجيهات عديدة ستمر بنا إن شاء الله. نعم.
أحسن الله إليكم. Then the Shaykh moved on to the next question, question number 94, and these questions are pertaining to terminology that is a connection of the previous two terminology of Sahih and Hasan that are preceded with us. So from the scholars who became famous of using a terminology that is a connection of these two terminologies is Imam al-Tirmidhi. Imam al-Tirmidhi, who has used this terminology Hasan on Sahih frequently in his book al-Jami', Jami' al-Tirmidhi. So the question says that what is the problem in Imam al-Tirmidhi and his ruling upon a hadith with this connected terminology of Hasan Sahih, Hasan Sahih. So the answer to this question is that the problem is that as has preceded, that Hasan, it is of a lower level than Sahih. Hasan, it is of a lower level than Sahih. So to combine a ruling of Hasan Sahih in a single hadith, then it is a combination between two matters that are in opposition. That which is incomplete and that which is complete. There is a combination between that which is incomplete and that which is complete. And this is because, as has preceded, we mentioned that the Hasan hadith, then its narrators, they are not of the highest level of precision and memorization. They are of a lower level, incomplete level of precision and memorization. And the narrators of a Sahih hadith, then they are of the highest complete level of precision and memorization. So combined between these two rulings in a single hadith to say it is Hasan and Sahih, then it is a combination between these two opposite matters: completion, perfection, and incompletion and imperfection. And Imam al-Tirmidhi, then he was preceded by using this terminology by his Sheikh and teacher, Imam al-Bukhari. Imam al-Bukhari preceded Imam al-Tirmidhi in ruling upon hadith to be Hasan Sahih, as he ruled upon the hadith pertaining to those angels that are the closest to Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala. This hadith, he ruled upon it to be Hasanun Sahih, Hasanun Sahih. And the scholars of hadith, they have tried to reconcile and answer this terminology that combines between those two matters that are opposite with various answers as will come in the next questions. نعم شيخنا.
السؤال 85، وصححوا كلمة تصحفت بين أيديكم تستقبلونها. السؤال 95، دفع ابن الصلاح هذا الإشكال بتوجيهين مو بتوجهين. دفع ابن الصلاح هذا الإشكال بتوجيهين، اذكرهما. الجواب: إيش الإشكال؟ يعني حسن صحيح، كيف يجمع بين النقص والكمال؟ بتوجيهين. التوجيه الأول أن ذلك راجع حسن صحيح لرواية الحديث بإسنادين، أحدهما حسن والآخر صحيح. هذا التوجيه الأول. إذا ورد الحديث بإسنادين أحدهما حسن والآخر صحيح، فإن الترمذي رحمه الله تعالى من فقهه للأحكام على الأسانيد والمتون يقول حسن صحيح. التوجيه الثاني: أو أن يراد بالصحيح على الاصطلاح ما اتصل سنده بنقل العدل الضابط عن مثله إلى منتهى من غير شذوذ ولا علة. والحسن أرادوا به المعنى اللغوي، وهو ما تميل إليه النفس، فهو صحيح اصطلاحا وحسن لغة. وقد يريدون معنى ثالثا، وهو أنه حسن في اللغة وحسن في المعنى مع عدم صحته، وهذا قد يستعمله المحدثون، يقولون حسن يعني من حيث اللغة والمعنى، لكن لا يصح إسنادا. ومثاله قول ابن عبد البر رحمه الله في حديث معاذ: طلب العلم عبادة. قال ابن عبد البر: هذا الحديث حسن جدا، يعني استحسنه من حيث المعنى واللغة، حسن جدا وليس له سند قوي. نعم.
أحسن الله إليكم. Then the Sheikh Hafidhullah, he moved on to the next question, which is question number 95, in which he mentioned the answers of some of the scholars of Hadith regarding this problem that has preceded in the previous question. So the question says that Imam Ibn Salah, rahimahullah, he has removed this this problem of using this connected terminology of Hasan al-Sahih, and he has answered this matter with two answers. Mention these two answers. So the answer to this question is that the first answer is that this hadith in which Imam al-Tirmidhi has ruled upon it to be Hasan al-Sahih, then it is ruled with two, it has been narrated with two chains of narrations. It has two chains of narrations. One of them is Hasan, that fulfills the conditions of a Hasan chain, and one of them is, the other one is Sahih. The other one is Sahih, that fulfills the conditions of a Sahih chain. So this is from the understanding of Imam al-Tirmidhi, that he found the hadith to have two chains, one of them Hasan, one of them Sahih, so he ruled upon it to be Hasanun Sahih. This is one answer to this problem. The second answer is that what is meant by Sahih is the meaning technically in the science of hadith. So it is meaning that it fulfills the 5 conditions of a Sahih hadith, that the narrators are trustworthy, they are the utmost precise memorizers of hadith, the chain is connected, it is free from shudud, and it is free from a hidden defect. And when he added Hasan to it, then he means the linguistic meaning. The linguistic meaning in the Arabic language in Hasan, in the word Hasan, meaning that matter that is close to one's soul. That this hadith is Hasanun Sahih, that it is authentic in the technical meaning, and it is Hasan in the linguistic meaning, that it is close to one's soul. And then the Shaykh mentioned that there's also a third answer to this problem, which is that this hadith that is ruled upon to be Sahih, Hasanun Sahih, then some of the scholars, they mean that it is Hasan in its wordings and meanings. The wording and meaning of this hadith, then it is Hasan, that it has a good meaning and it has a good wording, but the chain of narration, the hadith, is not authentic, it is not established. And this is what an example of this is that Imam Ibn Abdul Barr, rahimahullah, he has mentioned regarding the hadith of Mu'adh ibn Jabal, radiallahu anhu, in which he said that seeking knowledge is worship. Seeking knowledge is worship. He said regarding this hadith that this hadith is hasanun jiddan, that it is extremely hasan. It is extremely hasan, meaning in its wording, in its meaning, it is extremely hasan, but it does not have any strong chain of narration. It does not have any strong chain of narration. This is the third way that the scholars have answered this problem. Naam, Shaykhana.
نعم. السؤال
نعم شيخنا.
السؤال 96، لماذا لا يفرد بعض أهل الحديث الحسن بل يجعله مندرجا في أنواع الصحيح، سواء كان هذا في الفقه أو كان في العقيدة أو كان في غيرهما، بل يجعله مندرجا في أنواع الصحيح، ومنهم من يعزى إليه هذا، ومن منهم من العلماء يعزى إليه هذا الدمج، يعني بين الصحيح والحسن. الجواب: السبب في عدم إفراد الحسن عند بعض المحدثين سبب ذلك لاندراج الحسن في أنواع ما يحتج به، فالمحتج به عند العلماء وعند المحدثين يشتمل على الصحيح والحسن، فلذلك لم يفردوا الحسن وحده. وممن يعزى إليه هذا الدمج بين الصحيح والحسن في مؤلفاتهم المحدثون التالي أسماؤهم: منهم الحاكم، ومنهم الخطيب، ومنهم السلفي أبو طاهر السلفي، هكذا تنطق السلفي. وعرف هذا الدمج بين الصحيح والحسن عن الحاكم في تصرفاته، سواء في أحكامه في المستدرك أو في بقية أحكامه في بقية كتبه. وكذلك عرف هذا الدمج بين الصحيح والحسن في تسمية الحاكم لجامع الترمذي، سماه الجامع الصحيح، مع أن فيه الحسن، وهذا لسيره على هذا المنهاج الذي ذكرته، وهو أنهم يدرجون الصحيح والحسن فيما يحتج به. وكذلك عرف هذا عن الخطيب البغدادي، فقد أطلق الخطيب رحمه الله تعالى لفظ وحكم الصحيح على سنن الترمذي وعلى سنن النسائي. وكذلك عرف هذا عن أبي طاهر السلفي، وقد نقل الاتفاق كما سيأتي ذكره على صحة الكتب الستة، والمراد بالكتب الستة هي الكتب الستة دون سنن ابن ماجه. نعم.
أحسن الله إليكم. Then the Sheikh Hafidhullah, he moved on to the next question, which is question number 96, which is that why do some of the scholars of Hadith, why do they not mention Hasan, the Hasan Hadith, as a separate category? Rather, they mention or include the Hasan Hadith as being a part of Sahih Hadith. They include this category of Hasan as being part of Sahih. So near them, there's only two categorizations of Hadith based on acceptance and rejection, which is Sahih and Da'if. Sahih and Da'if, and that Hasan is part of Sahih, part of Sahih. And the second part of this question, that who from the scholars of Hadith have been known to tread upon this methodology of including Hasan in Sahih. The answer to this question is that the reason that some of the scholars of Hadith, they have not deemed Hasan to be a separate category and they have included Hasan in Sahih is that because both Sahih and Hasan, then it is part of that which is acceptable, Both Sahih and Hasan, then they are acceptable ahadith. They are to be accepted and acted upon and followed in all matters of the religion. This is why they have included Hasan in Sahih and they have not deemed it to be a separate category. And from the scholars who are known to have followed this methodology, from them is Imam al-Hakim and Imam al-Khatib al-Baghdadi and Imam al-Silafi. Imam al-Hakim, he is known to have followed this methodology by way of his dealings in his books, in his book al-Mustadrak, al-Sahihain, and other than it, when he rules upon a hadith to be sahih, and when we research them, we find them to be Hasan. And also from him naming the book Jami' al-Tirmidhi al-Jami' al-Sahih. Even though, as we all know, there are Hasan hadith found in Jami' al-Tirmidhi. So for him to rule upon this book to be a Sahih, then it shows that he was upon this methodology of including Hasan in Sahih. From these scholars is Imam al-Khatib al-Baghdadi. He has also named and titled Jami' al-Tirmidhi and Sunan ibn Majah as being Sahih al-Tirmidhi, Sahih ibn Majah, even though there are Hasan hadith also found in this book showing that he included Hasan in Sahih. And from them is Imam al-Silafi. And as will come soon, inshallah, he has a statement in which he said that all of the hadith in the 6 books of hadith, then they are Sahih. And this again shows that even though these books such as Sunan Abi Dawood and Jami' al-Tirmidhi other than it contain Hasan hadith, he included those Hasan in as-Sahih. And when they say the 6 books of hadith, these early scholars, they do not mean Sunan ibn Majah from these 6 books. Rather, another book as will come soon, inshallah. Naam, Shaykhana.
السؤال السابع والتسعون، وهو متعلق بتصريح صرح به الحافظ السلفي أبو طاهر السلفي في الكتب ال5 وهي 6 دون ابن ماجه، وقال اتفق على صحتها علماء الشرق والغرب. السؤال هنا: هل يسلم بقول الإمام أبي طاهر السلفي رحمه الله اتفق على صحتها، يعني الكتب ال6 دون سنن ابن ماجه، علماء المشرق والمغرب؟ فإذا كان لا يسلم بين السبب. الجواب: يسلم بذلك في الصحيحين أنه اتفق على صحتها علماء المشرق والمغرب، ولا يسلم له رحمه الله في بقية الكتب ال5، وسبب ذلك لأن فيها ما صرح مؤلفوها أنفسهم بكونه ضعيفا أو منكرا أو نحو ذلك من أوصاف الضعيف، كما صرح وأكثر من ذلك الإمامان أبو داود والترمذي رحمهم الله تعالى. فلا يسلم للحافظ السلفي بهذه الدعوة، وذلك من أحكام الأئمة المؤلفين السنن ال4 أنفسهم، فإنهم قد نصوا على وجود الضعيف وأنهم ينبهون عليه. نعم.
Ahsan Allahu ilaykum. Then the Shaykh Hafidullah moved on to the next question number 97, that was pertaining to the previous matter that we mentioned, that is it to be accepted from Imam al-Hafiz Abu Tahir al-Silafi rahimahullah in his statement in which he said that all of the scholars from the east to the west, of the Muslim lands, then they have all unanimously accepted every hadith in the 6 books of hadith to be sahih, And when he says the 6 books of hadith, he means the 6 books without Sunan ibn Majah, and mention the reason. The answer to this question is that this is to be accepted from him, that every hadith is sahih only in the Sahihain, Sahih al-Bukhari and Sahih Muslim, and it is not to be accepted from him regarding the remaining books, of the Sunan. It is not to be accepted for the remaining books of the Sunan, and the reason for this is that in these books of the Sunan, then the authors of these books themselves, they have explicitly ruled upon a hadith to be da'if, to be weak, or to be munkar, to be extremely weak, and other rulings of a weak hadith, other rulings and terminologies of a weak hadith. And from the scholars who have extensively ruled upon the hadith in their books with weakness is Imam Abu Dawud and Imam al-Tirmidhi. In several hadith, after mentioning those hadith, they will rule upon that hadith to be weak with various terminologies of a weak hadith, So this statement, the scholars of hadith, they have not accepted from Imam Abu Tahir al-Salafi that every hadith in the 6 books of hadith, then it is a sahih hadith. نعم شيخنا.
السؤال 98: هل من سمى الحسن صحيحا من أهل الحديث أو أدخل الحسن في الصحيح يجعلهما في مرتبة سواء، كما قال الناظم: كل صحيح حسن لا ينعكس، وقيل هذا حيث رأي يلتبس. وهل الاختلاف في ذلك لفظي، يعني باللفظ لفظا فقط، أم معنوي؟ الجواب: من سمى الحسن صحيحا من المحدثين، نعم، هذا تسمية فقط، يسمي الحسن صحيحا، لا ينكر أنه دون الصحيح. هو يسمي الحسن صحيحا ويطلق على الحسن حديث صحيح، لكنه لا يسوي بينه وبين الصحيح، بل هو عنده دون الصحيح. الجواب هذا يحتاج إلى شيء من التفصيل. من سمى، والتسمية هذه من باب التجوز، يطلقون على الحسن الصحيح من باب التجوز لدخول شروط الحسن في الصحيح، كما قال الناظم كما ذكرت آنفا: كل صحيح حسن لا ينعكس. والاختلاف في هذا لفظي وليس معنوي، يعني من حيث المعنى الحسن له صفاته وشروطه عند المحدثين، والصحيح له صفاته وشروطه. أما إدخالهم الحسن ضمن الصحيح وإطلاق الصحيح على الحسن، فهذا الاختلاف في حقيقته لفظي وليس معنويا، والله أعلم. نعم.
أحسن الله إليكم. Then the Sheikh, he moved on to the next question, question number 98, that those from the scholars of hadith who use the terminology of sahih for that hadith which is hasan, or they include hasan in sahih, do they deem that sahih and hasan are of the same level? Do they deem that sahih and hasan are of the same level? And is this difference between them, is this something that is just difference in wording or difference in the reality of the matter? The answer to this question is that the one from the scholars of hadith who uses and who names the hasan hadith to be sahih, then he does not negate that this hadith which is hasan, it is lesser in degree than a sahih hadith. It is lower in rank in degree than a sahih hadith. So this is just from the angle of naming, using names, that he names a hasan hadith to be sahih using this terminology, but he does not make this hadith or he does not deem both hasan and sahih to be of the same level, Rather, it is from that which occurs from being wide in using one's speech. And this is because the conditions of Hasan Hadith, then they are included in the conditions of a Sahih Hadith. That, as has preceded, then all of the 4 conditions from the 5 conditions in a Hasan Hadith, they're the same conditions of a Sahih Hadith, excluding the precision, accuracy, and memorization of the narrator's Hadith. It is a lower level. It is of a lower level than a narrator of a Sahih Hadith. And this is as the poet has said, that every Sahih is Hasan. Every Sahih is Hasan, and not the opposite. And not the opposite. So this difference between them, then it is something that is only in wording and not in the reality of the matter. They do not deem the Hasan and Sahih, both of them, to be of the same level. Rather, they all accept that the Hasan, it is of a lower level than a Sahih. نعم شيخنا.
السؤال 99. ما هو تعريف الحديث الضعيف عن أبي عمرو بن الصلاح أي عنده؟ الآن دخل بنا في النوع الثالث من الأنواع الثلاثة الأولى الرئيسة في مصطلح الحديث، وهي الصحيح والحسن والضعيف. وبقية الأنواع وسائر الأنواع تنضوي وتدخل ضمن هذه الأنواع الثلاثة الرئيسة أو الأساسية. السؤال 99 متعلق بالحديث الضعيف. ما هو تعريف الحديث الضعيف عند أبي عمرو بن الصلاح رحمه الله؟ الجواب: الحديث الضعيف عند ابن الصلاح هو الحديث الذي لم تجتمع فيه صفات الحسن الصحيح ولا صفات الحسن. هكذا هكذا عرف ابن الصلاح الضعيف، وهذا نصه. يقول: الحديث الضعيف الذي لم تجتمع فيه صفات الحديث الصحيح ولا صفات الحديث الحسن، لأن الصحيح له صفات فلم تظهر في هذا الضعيف، والحسن له صفات لم تظهر أيضا في هذا الضعيف. وهذا التعريف له عليه مؤاخذات 3 لدى المحدثين. المؤاخذة الأولى، قالوا إن التعريفات تصان عن الإسهاب والتطويل. تعريفات تصان عن الإسهاب والتطويل، وقد أطال ابن الصلاح رحمه الله تعالى في تعريف الضعيف، فلو اقتصر على نفي الصفة الدنيا وهي صفة الحديث الحسن لأفهم وأفاد أن الصفة العليا منفية من باب أولى، لأنك إذا قلت في راو هذا الراوي ليس بصدوق، ما يقول قائل وهل هو ثقة؟ لأن نفي الصفة الدنيا تقتضي نفي الصفة العليا. ثانيا، الانتقاد الثاني، قالوا لو قال لم تجتمع الحديث الضعيف هو الحديث الذي لم تجتمع فيه صفات القبول لكان أعم، لأن القبول يدخل فيه الصحيح والحسن. والانتقاد الثالث أن نفي ما يتعلق بكمال الضبط لا يصير الحديث ضعيفا، بل قد ينقله إلى دون درجة القبول بالصحة إلى درجة القبول بالحسن. فنفي كمال الضبط فيما يتعلق بالصحيح لا يقتضي إدخاله في الضعيف، وإنما قد ينقل من الصحيح إلى الحسن وليس إلى الضعيف مباشرة. نعم.
أحسن الله إليكم. Then the Sheikh Hafidhullah, he moved on to the next question, question number 99. And with this, we start the third categorization or terminology from the terminologies in the science of Mustala al-Hadith, and it is the terminology of al-Da'if. We have finished in the previous questions, from question number 1 to question number 98, the first two types of Hadith and the first two terminology, which is Sahih and Hasan. And now we will start with the third type and terminology, which is Da'if. And all of the terminologies of the science that are to come, and all of the subcategories and types of Hadith, then they all return back and fall under these three main types: Sahih, Hasan, and Da'if. These are the three main fundamental types of Hadith, and all of the remaining types, they fall under one of these types. So the first question in this type, in this terminology of Da'if, which is question number 99, is that what is the definition of Imam ibn Salah rahimahullah for a Da'if Hadith? For a Da'if Hadith, the answer to this question is that Imam ibn Salah rahimahullah, he has defined a Da'if Hadith with saying that it is a Hadith in which the characteristics of a Sahih Hadith are not found, and nor are the characteristics of a Hasan Hadith. This is the exact definition of Imam ibn Salah for Da'if Hadith, that it is a Hadith in which the characteristics of a Sahih Hadith are not found, and nor are the characteristics of a Hasan Hadith. And the scholars of Hadith, they have criticized Imam ibn Salah in this definition of a Da'if Hadith with three matters. The first of them is that they have said it is befitting when one mentions the definition of a matter, then that definition is short and concise. It is not long, rather it is short and concise. So Imam ibn Salah in this definition, he has mentioned a long definition. If he was to just suffice with saying that a Da'if Hadith, it is a Hadith in which the characteristics of a Hasan Hadith are not found, then it would have been short and concise, because to negate that which is of a lower level, it automatically negates that which is of a higher level. To negate that which is of a lower level, it negates that which is a higher level. For example, if one says that this narrator, he is not Saduq, which is the narrator of a Hasan Hadith. So it is not to be said that, or asked if he's Thiqa, because this negation of him being Saduq, of the level of a narrator of Hasan Hadith, it automatically negates the higher level of him being a narrator of a Sahih Hadith. The second critique they have of Imam ibn Salah in this definition is that this terminology, if he suffices with saying that a Da'if Hadith, it is that Hadith that does not contain the characteristics of a Maqbul Hadith, a Hadith that is Maqbul, that is acceptable, that was more general, because a Maqbul Hadith, acceptable Hadith, it contains both Sahih and Hasan, The third critique they have of Imam ibn Salah in this definition is that when he said that a Da'if Hadith, it is that Hadith in which the characteristics of a Sahih Hadith is not found, then this does not mean that the Hadith becomes Da'if. A Hadith in which the characteristics of a Sahih Hadith are not found, then it could move it from being a Sahih Hadith to a Hasan Hadith, and not to being a Da'if Hadith. Because if the complete utmost level of precision is not found in memorization of a narrator, then it could be moved to the level of a narrator being lesser in his precision and memory, which is a Hasan Hadith and not a Da'if Hadith. So these are the three critiques that the scholars of Hadith have on this definition. نعم شيخ.
يدخل الآن بنا في السؤالين 100 والحادي بعد 100 فيما يتعلق بتعديد أنواع الضعيف. فالضعيف مثله كمثل الصحيح أنواع، ومثله كمثل الحسن، فالحسن أنواع، وكذلك الضعيف أنواع. فيعني يبين لنا أن ابن حبان وهو من أوائل من عدد أقسام الضعيف قد بلغ به 50 قسما إلا واحدا. وسؤاله كم أقسام الحديث الضعيف عند ابن حبان البستي رحمه الله تعالى؟ الجواب بلغ به 50 قسما إلا واحدا كما قال الناظم وعده البستي هو ابن حبان، وعده البستي فيما أوعى ل49 نوعا. السؤال 11 إلى كم قسم قسم ابن الصلاح الحديث الضعيف؟ اذكرها. الجواب: قسم ابن الصلاح الحديث الضعيف إلى قسمين. إلى القسم الأول ما له لقب خاص كالموضوع والمقلوب والشاذ والمنكر إلى آخر الأنواع. القسم الثاني القسم العقلية، يعني القسم الواقعية والقسم العقلية. القسم الثاني باعتبار القسم العقلية، وإن لم يوجد له لقب خاص ولا عد نوعا مستقلا. وهذه القسمة العقلية تنتج نتيجة ماذا؟ نتيجة انعدام صفة فيكون نوعا، وبانعدام صفة أخرى من صفات القبول يكون نوعا ثانيا، وبانعدام صفة يكون نوعا ثالثا، وهلم جرا. وهذا يعني القسمة العقلية للضعيف العدد إلى ما لا نهاية، لا نهاية له. ولذلك بعضهم مثل الدكتور محمد السماحي له كتاب موسوعة يعد في المصطلح، بلغ به 400 وبعضهم بلغ به 500. هذا من الناحية العقلية. أما من الناحية الواقعية فيما له لقب خاص فالأمر كما قسم الحافظ ابن حبان رحمه الله تعالى 49 نوعا. نعم.
أحسن الله إليكم. Then the Sheikh Hafidullah, he moved on to the next two questions, question number 100 and 101. And question number 100, it says that into how many types did Imam Ibn Hibban al-Busti, rahimahullah, divide the da'if hadith? How many types of a da'if hadith did he mention? And the Sheikh Hafidullah, he said that the da'if hadith, it is just like a sahih and hasan hadith in containing various types. As has preceded with us, a sahih hadith, it is of various types, and a hasan hadith, it is of various types. So similarly, a da'if hadith, it is also of various types. And Imam Ibn Hibban, he is from the earliest of the scholars who mentioned these types. The answer to this question is that he mentioned that the da'if hadith, it is of 49 types. It is of 49 types. He mentioned 49 types of a da'if hadith, 50 less than 1, 49 types. The next question, question number 101, is that into how many types that Imam Ibn Salah divide the da'if hadith? Mention these types. The answer to this question is that Imam Ibn Salah, he divided the da'if hadith into two main categories. The first is the category that has a specific terminology. Those da'if hadith, those types of da'if hadith that have a specific terminology near the scholars of hadith, such as al-mawdu' and al-maqlub and al-shaz, and other than it from specific terminologies that will come inshallah with us. So this is the first category of da'if hadith near Imam Ibn Salah, and this is from that which is the reality of the matter and the practice of the scholars of hadith. The second type, the second category are the types of a weak hadith, da'if hadith, based on one's intellect, and the way this is done is that one looks at the characteristics of a maqbul hadith, the 5 conditions that are preceded for an acceptable hadith. So if one condition is not found, then it is a type of a weak hadith. If the second condition is not found, it is another type of a weak hadith. And if both these two conditions are not found, it is a third type of a weak hadith until the end. So this category of weak hadith based on one's intellect, then it does not have specific terminologies for them. It does not have specific terminologies near the scholars of hadith, and it has not been counted as specific types of a weak hadith. Rather, one cannot reach a specific number of weak hadith based on one's mentioning of weak hadith in its various types by way of one's intellect, to the point that some of the scholars, such as Muhammad al-Samahi, from the contemporary scholars, he has authored a book, Mawsu'a fil Mustalah, in the science, encyclopedia in the science, in which he has mentioned that the da'if hadith, it is of 400 types. 400 types. Some of them have reached them to be 500 types. And based on one's intellect, then the number, there is no limit to it. There's no limit to it. But one, in reality, near the scholars of hadith, based on terminology, it is just as Imam Ibn Hibban has said, that it is 49 in number. The da'if hadith, there are 49 types. نعم شيخنا.
طيب أقتصر على هذا. إن كانت لديكم أسئلة فيما ذكرت فتفضلوا بالسؤال.
أحسن الله إليكم شيخنا وبارك فيكم وتقبل منكم. هناك سؤال يقول السائل: قرأت أن من العلماء من ذكر أن اصطلاح إمام الترمذي حسن صحيح هو أعلى من اصطلاحه الصحيح، وبعضهم قالوا بالعكس، أن اصطلاحه حسن صحيح هو أدنى من اصطلاحه الصحيح، فما هو الصواب في ذلك؟
إذا عرف السبب بطل العجب، لأن العلماء الذين قالوا حسن صحيح أعلى كابن الصلاح من قوله حسن منفردا أو صحيح منفردا، قالوا لأن الحديث ما دام له أكثر من طريق، منها طرق حسنة ومنها طرق صحيحة، فمعناه أن هذا التوجيه سيجعل الحديث أقوى باعتبار تعدد طرقه. والذين قالوا حسن صحيح أدنى وجهوا الواو ها هنا بين الحسن والصحيح بأنها واو الشك، يعني أنه شك حسن أو صحيح، وبالتالي فإن الجزم لا يرقى لدرجة الشك، فيكون حسن أو صحيح، معناه أن هذا الشك ينزل بالحديث درجة فيما لو كان للحديث طرق حسنة وطرق صحيحة، وبالتالي يكون الشك دون اليقين، فهو أنزل من درجة حسن وحدها أو صحيح وحدها. لكن الصواب كما سمعت شيخنا الشيخ مقبل رحمه الله يعني يجزم بأن حسن صحيح، وأن مذهب ابن الصلاح في هذا هو الصواب والواقع يدل عليه، وهو أن الحديث له طرق حسنة وله طرق صحيحة. نعم.
أحسن الله إليكم. The questioner, he said that I read in some of the books of Mustala al-Hadith that some of the scholars of Hadith, they deem the terminology of Imam al-Tirmidhi Hasan al-Sahih to be of a higher level than his terminology upon a Hadith to be Sahih. And some of the scholars of Hadith have ruled with the opposite, that his terminology Hasan al-Sahih, it is of a lower level of his terminology of singularity of ruling upon a Hadith to be only Sahih. So what is the correct matter regarding this issue? The Shaykh Hafidullah, he answered this question by saying that if one understands the underlying reason for the scholars in saying these two positions and statements, then one understands as to what they mean. So those scholars who say that Hasan al-Sahih, the terminology Imam al-Tirmidhi Hasan al-Sahih is of a higher ruling than his terminology Sahih, such as Imam ibn Salah rahimahullah, then they mean that the hadith, it has two chains of narrations. One of them is Hasan, one of them is Sahih. So a hadith that has multiple chains, it is of a higher level than a hadith that has a singular chain. This is why they say that the terminology of Imam al-Tirmidhi Hasan and Sahih, it is of a higher level than his terminology of being Sahih only. And the scholars who say with the opposite, that the terminology Hasan and Sahih is of a lower level, then they deem this wow between Hasan wa Sahih, that Hasan and Sahih, to be that which is of doubt, that it is Hasan or Sahih, Hasan or Sahih, that there is doubt as to if the hadith is Hasan or Sahih. And that which has a doubt in it, it is of a lower level than that which has no doubt. So when Imam al-Tirmidhi rules upon a hadith to be just sahih, it is definitive, it has no doubt. That's why it is of a higher level than his ruling upon a hadith to be hasanun sahih that has doubt if it is hasan or sahih. And the Shaykh Hafidhullah, he mentioned that his Shaykh and teacher, the great scholar Shaykh Muqbil ibn Hadi al-Wadi'i, rahimahullah, he has deemed the position of Imam ibn Salah to be the correct position, that hasanun sahih, it is of a higher level than sahih, based on the position of Imam ibn Salah, that the hadith has two chains, one is hasan, one is sahih, and this is of a higher level than a hadith that has a singular chain. سؤال آخر شيخنا، يقول السائل: نجد أن إمام الترمذي قد حكم على بعض الأحاديث بأن هذا الحديث حسن صحيح غريب، حسن صحيح غريب، فكيف نقبل هذا على توجيه إمام ابن صلاح بأن الحديث إذا حكم بأنه حسن صحيح له إسنادان أحدهما حسن وأحدهما صحيح، مع أنه قد ركب معهما اصطلاح غريب؟
الغرابة كما قال الحافظ ابن حجر نسبية، يعني قد يكون له طرق حسنة وطرق صحيحة، ومن ضمن هذه الطرق فيها طرق وألفاظ مستغربة أو غريبة وقع فيها غرابة. فالأمر، وهذا نص الحافظ ابن حجر لكن في غير هذا المقام، يعني الأمر نسبي، وقع في بعض هذه الطرق الحسنة أو الصحيحة ألفاظ مستغربة، وقد وقعت للإمام الترمذي رحمه الله تعالى فرواها، ولذلك استغربها من هذه الحيثية ومن هذه الناحية. نعم.
أحسن الله إليكم. The questioner, he says that based on the previous question, that if the ruling of Imam al-Tirmidhi, Hasan al-Sahih, it means, as Imam ibn Salah has said, that it has two chains, one is Hasan, one is Sahih, then how do we reconcile that between his statements upon some ahadith in which he has ruled upon them to be Hasanun Sahihun Gharib, Hasanun Sahihun Gharib, and Gharib, as we have learned, then it means that it only has one chain. So how can we say that it is Hasanun Sahih, the meaning that it has two chains, one is Hasan, one is Sahih, including when he includes the ruling of it also being Gharib? The Shaykh Hafidhullah, he answered this question by saying that Hafidh ibn Hajar al-Asqalani, rahimahullah, he has mentioned that this ruling of Imam al-Tirmidhi, Hasanun Sahihun Gharib, then Gharib, he means by it Gharaba in some of the wordings of this hadith. So this hadith, it has multiple chains, some of them are Hasan, some of them are Sahih, and in these chains are some words that have only been narrated in some of the levels of these chains by a single narrator, and this is how these hadiths reached Imam al-Tirmidhi. This is how they reached him, and he narrated them as they reached him. So this is why he ruled upon them to be Gharib, as they have some words that only some narrators have narrated in some of the levels of those chains that are Hasan, and some of them are Sahih. نعم. نعم. السؤال الأخير ونختم به إن شاء الله. يقول السائل: ألا يكفي بنا أن نقول أن الضعيف قسمان رئيسيان فقط، ضعيف يسير وضعيف شديد، فما الفائدة من ذكر أن ضعيف 50 قسما إلا واحد كما ذكر الإمام ابن حبان؟
هذه هي القسمة التي قسم الحافظ ابن حبان رحمه الله تعالى عليها الضعيف، وهي 50 إلا قسما واحدا. هذا باعتبار الواقع، يعني موجود شيء سقط منه 2، شيء سقط الإسناد كله وهو المعلق، شيء رفعه التابعي وهو المرسل. هذا الواقع موجود، يعني تحت كل نوع من هذه الأنواع عدد كبير من الأحاديث يعني ينضوي ويدخل تحت هذا النوع. لكن ما ذكره الأخ من أن الضعيف قد يكون ضعيفا ضعفا خفيفا، وضعيفا ضعفا شديدا، وضعيفا يصل إلى الوهاء وإلى الطرح وعدم الاعتبار وعدم إدخاله في المتابعات وعدم تقويته، هذا شيء آخر باعتبار آخر. أما ما يتعلق بالواقع الذي يدخل تحته أنواع من الأحاديث كثيرة، فهي هذه الأنواع 50 إلا واحدا. وأما ما ذكر الأخ فهذا صفات كل نوع من هذه الأنواع. يعني الحديث المرسل فيه حديث ضعيف جدا، وفيه حديث ضعيف ضعف يسير مثلا. والعلة الحديث المعل فيه حديث لا يقبل لأن العلة قوية وشديدة، وفيه حديث فيه علة لكن العلة خفيفة يسيرة، وهكذا إلى آخر الأقسام. فكل قسم وكل نوع من أنواع الضعيف له اعتبار خاص وتوجيه خاص. نعم.
أحسن الله إليكم. The questioner, he said that when it comes to practical application, won't it be enough to say that da'if is only two fundamental types, da'ifun yasir, minor weakness, and da'ifun shadid with a major weakness? So what is the use of defining 49 types of weak hadith that Imam Ibn Hibban has mentioned? The Shaykh Hafidullah answered this question by saying that this is the reality. This is a reality in which several examples of ahadith are found, in which the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, is found divided in weak ahadith that Imam Ibn Hibban has mentioned 49 types. For example, there are several ahadith in which a narrator has been dropped from his chain of narration. There are several ahadith in which two narrators have been dropped. So the first is a type, the second is a type. There are several ahadith in which the entire chain has been dropped. This is another type. There are several hadiths in which a tabi'i, he ascribes a hadith to the Prophet ﷺ. This is another type. There are several hadiths in which there's the chain is hidden from the beginning of the chain of narration. This is another type. So these types, 49 types that Imam Ibn Hibban mentioned, they have practical, real, several examples in the science of hadith. As far as what the questioner mentioned, that can da'if not be just divided into yasir and shadid, minor and major weakness, then these are the characteristics of a weak hadith that could be found in any of these 49 types that Imam Ibn Hibban has mentioned. They are the general characteristics of a weak hadith that could be found in any of these types. For example, a mu'al hadith, a hadith that has a defect. It could be that which has a defect that renders it to be extremely weak. It has an extremely weak defect, and it could be that which has a defect that is with a minor weakness. So these yasir and shadid of being minor major weakness, it enters into all of these types that Imam Ibn Hibban has mentioned, these 49 types. ونختم بهذا شيخنا ونشكركم شكرا جزيلا على ما ذكرتم وأفدتم وتقبل الله منكم ونلقاكم إن شاء الله في اللقاء القادم بإذن الله.
إن شاء الله وأنتم على خير، وفقني الله وإياكم للعلم النافع والعمل الصالح والإخلاص فيهما والصواب. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
آمين وإياكم، والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.